Rainier Avenue Radio.
Welcome to the coronavirus pandemic. I'll take coronavirus for 100. Fever, chills, shortness of breath, loss of taste or smell. What is stay at home and isolate? Correct.
Coronavirus for 200.
Inability to stay awake, persistent pain or pressure in chest, trouble breathing. What is seek immediate help? Correct.
Coronavirus for 500.
Crippling and potentially dead infectious disease eliminated the United States with vaccination.
What is the polio vaccine?
Correct.
I'll take coronavirus for 700.
The Daily Double! Should I take the coronavirus vaccine? Wait. Hold up. This is not a game. It's time for serious discussions. We have coronavirus vaccines, but not everyone is comfortable taking them. Here's the facts. Based on what has been proven about vaccines for other diseases, COVID-19 vaccine may help keep you from getting seriously ill, even if you do get the virus. Getting vaccinated also may protect people around, particularly those at greater risk for severe illness from COVID-19. We don't yet have all of the answers. Get informed, talk to your healthcare physician, and make the right decision for you. This is a message supported by the Washington State Department of Health.
Turn up your radio wherever you at. We about to bring it.
Street Beat.
Yeah.
With Tony B.
Tony B will give you a chance to tackle local, national, and international issues that affect your community.
Street Beat. Street Beat. Who, Tony?
Sunday nights from 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. It's K-Fox Night Beat with DJ Nastiness.
Bringing back the memories.
Bringing back the memories.
Bringing Seattle's hottest music.
Bringing Seattle's hottest music. Rainier Avenue Radio.world.
Metro League High School sports are back.
There's Jordan. Makes a stutter step inside, breaks a tackle. He's off and running. He's going to take it all the way.
Join Rainier Avenue Radio, your home team for Metro League football, basketball, baseball, girls soccer, track and field, bowling, and even more than that. We got you. Watch Metro League High School sports on Rainier Avenue Radio via Facebook, YouTube, or Twitch. You can listen in right at our website, RainierAvenueRadio.world, or download our app for free to listen and watch.
The phone is blocked and it's picked up. My number.
Metro League High School Sports 2021 on RainierAvenueRadio.world, powered by the Urban League of Metropolitan Seattle, King County for Culture, and the Seattle Mariners.
This is Paul Pearson, host of Star Time. And when I'm not shouting "Badia" at city council meetings, I'm listening to RainierAvenueRadio.world.
You're listening to Heartbeat Radio. I'm your host, Cindi Bright. Heartbeat Radio is a conversation aimed to take the pulse of corporate America. Opportunities for people of color, we're getting lost in the shuffle of change. I'm that provocateur of change. The hearts of corporate America are addressed. Access and opportunities will be accelerated for all people. Through Heartbeat Radio, you will gain a deeper understanding of what is necessary for change. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Heartbeat Radio. It's Cindi Bright, the host here. We have an exciting show lined up for you tonight about mental health. Let me just start off with a couple things. Number one, I am Benadrylled up tonight because I'm fighting allergies. So if I start to act weird, it's simply I'm drugged up trying to do the show tonight. Let me invite Joy Stanford in before we do talk about our guest. Hey, Joy. How are you tonight?
No, you cannot go cuckoo. No, I'm just playing.
I was debating on having a glass of wine before the show, and I was like, oh, that might not be a great idea.
No, not a good idea if you're on Benadryl too. No, I'm excited about the show, though. I'm excited.
For our audience, we have a mental health professional. She will be joining us here in a little bit on the show. And the reason why we decided to do the show tonight, I would say for obvious reasons, but sometimes I think it just isn't obvious. But in the news with Naomi Osaka and the challenges she dealt with around her mental health, it really did spark another conversation behind the scenes, really in the Black community. And with us Black women, we talk about this a lot because I think folks fail to recognize and realize the duress that we live under and the mental health pressures that we all contend with, but that we've gotten accustomed to hiding because of the way that the world responds to us. And so I thought it was worthy of a conversation tonight to talk about some of these different issues. I mean, there's definitely all the stars that end up in the news talking about this, but we're not stars. We're just regular people who are out here in the streets dealing with these sorts of issues.
The same thing that she's dealing with, just in a different capacity. Right?
Or the same.
Or the same, yeah, yeah.
With just the different masters at the helm making comments about us, you know.
And making decisions for us that we can't change, so.
I didn't even write down the tennis folks, the owner's name, mostly because he was irrelevant in my mind. He's typical corporate America, which is, I don't care what I'm doing to you. I don't care what the effects are of your work. I just need you to go out and make my dang money for me. And you can just go away. And so, but of particular interest to me was the response. This is worthy of a conversation of a white colleague, Billie Jean King.
I was kind of floored. I was shocked and I was floored. And I had a conversation today with I'm going to give her a shout out, friend of mine, Sharice, from 40 years ago. We went to elementary school and junior high and high school together. And we were talking and I said, we were having this conversation. And I said, the one thing that you and I agreed on is that she did it politely, she did it respectfully, and she did it with all kinds of grace to say, I cannot do this. I respectfully decline to participate in this tournament. And it wasn't like this belligerent, nasty, I don't like you. It was about her and her mental health. And that's where I feel like we as women, especially Black women, women of color, we don't speak up in these moments where we know is detrimental to our mental health. I have my own experience of not speaking up. So
look at this headline. You know, Billie Jean King delicately reminds Naomi Osaka of
responsibility to press. I'm not responsible for anything but myself and my game.
Well, I'm going to break that one apart for a minute because delicately reminds her, first off, who asked for her opinion.
Thank you.
And who is this not a common behavior that anytime a Black woman speaks, whether it's for any reason, a white woman comes into that conversation, she centers herself, and then she attempts to tell us, they attempt to tell us how to be, how to speak, when to, like, why didn't she just say nothing? Or why didn't she come out and support her sister? Like, this is exactly. Why do these women constantly come into the equation to deflect from the issue, to bring it to themselves, and then criticize the other person who spoke? I mean, I see these issues literally every single day of my life. Like, there is not some interaction I have that somebody thinks it's okay to disrespect you, to correct you, to gaslight you and make you feel like it's not their problem, it's your problem.
Had it happened today. Did you have it
happen today?
I didn't respond. I'm not ready to respond, but I sent something to a elected official here in my community, and his response was the tone of it. Really? It's a proclamation about Juneteenth. Really?
About the tone that you used in the email?
No, about the tone of the proclamation, which I did not write. Your constituents who live here in a small group, we all agreed on this wording, and the tone wasn't positive.
Well, why do these folks feel that they have to tone police us anyhow? If we tone police them, we'd be dealing with the other.
You're angry. You're the angry Black woman. What killed me about that headline was the word delicate. First of all, she didn't delicately say anything. She just said it. Second of all, you don't have to tell her what her responsibility is. She knows what her responsibility is. And that is why she decided to bow out of the tournament, so that because she was not going to be able to keep that particular responsibility that is owed of her. She was not going to be able to keep that. So I'm going to bow out so I can keep my own mental health straight.
And to that point about delicately reminds, that is the portrayal of corporate America. The newspaper saying that when a white woman speaks, she's delicate and gentle and just trying to do the right things and just trying to. When a black woman speaks, she's angry and
aggressive, loud. Okay, those seem like leadership skills to me. I'm just saying.
Another person in the news, Meghan Markle, right? Meghan Markle speaks out about her mental health too. She was back in, at the, Windsor Palace and wherever they live. And all the black folks, there's no surprise to them because we
not at all
in this every single day. But as soon as she spoke out to protect her mental health and for her child's sake, her family's sake, the media piles onto her and starts to again portray her as another angry black woman.
And the fact that she was giving up the royal family secrets. We do not speak of such things. Really? Because the comment was made is how dark is Archie going to be? Period. The comment was made in a family discussion. I'm sorry, but it is what it is. Let's just leave it out there on the table.
Serena Williams speaks out about her issues. And so her husband comes to her rescue to defend her because, people who are around us know that every time we speak, we're not just spewing anger. Just because you can't handle who we are, or you don't like that we're not.
There you go. There it is.
Delicate enough for you, right? We're not delicate enough because after all, these folks have stayed in their comfort zones for so long, and they're so accustomed to the programming that both they have received and what we have historically done trying to fit in places. And now that all of us are just done with this BS of trying to kowtow and cater to these folks, now that we're speaking out about it, which we have to, because if you cannot change what you do not confront. And so, this movement is on to, for us as Black women to speak out and start pushing for radical candor and radical change. Something significant must change in this society with its respect to Black women. Maxine Waters was another one. Here's a politician out speaking out against some of these other issues. She gets attacked, right? She's an elected official calling out the BS that is actually happening. Like all that is real. And as soon as she speaks about it, she's reprimanded by white society who says, no, you go back in your place, right?
Yes, you should not be talking about that. Mm-hmm. Yes, we didn't want to hear your comment on the Derek Chauvin because now you've put at risk what is it? There's still got to come his penalty, whatever his penalty will be. I'm sorry, but she can say whatever the heck she wants to say. Mm-hmm. And what she said was truth. I felt like what she said was truth.
Completely. I mean, we don't need the tone police after us. We don't need folks to come and try to either mansplain or whitesplain to us.
Thank you. There it is, right there. All that.
We don't need to be mansplained too. I had a mansplaining thing happen in the last couple of weeks. Trying to diminish me. And because they can't handle seeing themselves, and they definitely can't handle our pushback when we don't allow them to do to us what they've historically done
and said. Yes, the comments you've made. And it's so interesting because once this happened and you and I talked a couple times before the show, and I just thought all the times stuff was said to me in corporate America, and I was like, I don't know, compliant and complacent about it.
I can't wait for when our guest comes on, because I'll be fascinated to hear about, she's, I had to refer many women, I should say it different. Many people have called me, asking me if I know Black mental health therapists, because people need help. And the only ones I know are booked. And I have referred recently a friend to my own therapist that I've used in the past. She is a white woman, a phenomenal one, by the way, but she's booked out months too. And so this mental health trend of us, we have been home, we have been relieved from being inside of these toxic environments. We no longer have to deal with their oppression, where Karen's supervisor can beat you up over the head day in and day out. And then we're supposed to act like, let's just be soft and delicate with how we have communications. If they were being swung on and their husbands were being killed in the street and their children were being murdered in the street, and let's look at what's happening, Daniel, the headline about COVID-19 in the job market. Look at what's happening to Black women here.
Exactly.
We can't ignore these issues where the society is wreaking havoc on us. It's wreaking havoc on Black women. Domestic violence against Black women rose during the pandemic. The external forces, going into the grocery store and Karen is screaming at you about some stupid something because she feels privileged and she feels like her voice is the only one that matters. This is 24/7 behavior. This happens everywhere we go. And for white people who do not understand the conditions of this country, the conditions of which Black women live, this show is meant to help educate you on this, because these are fundamentally what every one of us, and I feel privileged. I'm the lighter one. And I'm the lighter one. I'm the light one catching the slack. The dark-skinned Black women, I know are doing it way more than I am.
Thank you. And it's interesting, we talked about what we had experienced in our own careers and lives. And I know there were times where I did not speak up. You and I have talked about that, where I did not say anything. And it was to make other people feel comfortable. Mm-hmm. And I had to think about how I was going to say something in order to get my point across in a very calming way. No, here it is. Here it is out there, just direct and in the moment. And we're not allowed to do that as women and as Black women. Mm-hmm. And there are moments where I think my mental health was at risk in one particular job, a large company in Seattle. And I didn't say anything, and I didn't speak up. And I didn't have the courage that Naomi Osaka had to say, this is not healthy for me, until the end, when I resigned. And I said, I'm resigning for me. And I'm giving this all up, and I don't know what I'm going to do, but it's not this, because I was told there wasn't a precedent for folks working from home 1 or 2 days a week, because the commute was killing me and making me unhealthy. 3 hours in my car, 3 hours home. And there wasn't a precedent, and then we couldn't set one. Couldn't
you give anything to be a fly on the wall now?
When everybody works from home and has for the last 18 months, yes.
And they're now bringing people back, and it would be fascinating. I haven't been in HR now for 9 years, almost a decade. I don't miss one damn minute of that, but it would be fascinating to, those are your people leaders, and most HR departments, from my experience, are run by white women. And so their entitlement, I'm going to do everything. at your expense, and I don't have any empathy for what you're going through, or I did it, so why can't you? Like, I just remember hearing all those sorts of comments. And so it would be fascinating to understand what these companies are doing now, because I know I've talked to several Black women who said it would be a cold day in hell before they set foot back in
the office. Yes. NPR did a little splice of it today, and I caught it when I was in the car, talking about workers who do not want to go back to the office because they've been more productive, and they've had this ease about their work and being able to do their work instead of having these microaggressions and overt aggressions put in their face. And I've heard it from educators as well. Educators and students. Some students like online because you don't have anybody touching your hair and asking you stupid questions. I said, well, that happens in the workplace too. Yes. All the time.
And all the time. For back to Black women inside of corporate America, I mean, my own experience, I actually remember, again, when my book comes out, everybody will get to read about the story, the final story that I tell about my termination out of there. I will remind people that, because I had a conversation this week with a CEO, and she made a comment. I don't quite remember how she phrased it, but the way I heard it was, well, you had an incident and so that happened. No, that's the incident I wrote about. I worked for 30 years in there, and I saw and had to tolerate so much crap, including in my trial, the racist woman that they brought in she was their hatchet person that came in and worked for a fraction of money because she was upholding her patriarchy and pleasing thy white man. Yes. I remember her saying that, we were prepared for Cindi to keep her job, but as soon as she said something about, blah, 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 that's when we changed our mind. So translation, I didn't submit. And so when you don't submit to these Karens, these cunning and conniving Karens that are controlling Black women's lives inside of corporate America, that's when there's hell to pay. And so I've watched a lot of Black women. I've coached a lot of Black women over my years. The stories are all the same. They're all the same. It's the same pattern of behavior that the top officials don't see, because Karen knows how to manage her way up, because she wants that next raise, and she's going to go do whatever the hell it takes for her to get that money. She doesn't care about the life of the Black woman that is left behind, shattered, and let Black women have to pick the pieces back up. That's why we're leaving. That's why Black women are leaving corporate America at astronomical rates. That's why Black women are starting our own businesses.
Own companies. Yep.
That's why Black women are standing together and helping each other rise now, because we've all lived through this chaos and this hatred.
We're saying no more now. No more. We're done. We're done being abused and stepped on and not taken care of, and doubted. I mean, where is it written that we can't rise above too? And I love my sisters that have. I love them. Every day someone new is being put in the C-suite, and I love seeing those, and I like to promote those and share that information. We've got, from George Lucas's wife, I'm forgetting her name. I just talked about her earlier this morning to a student that I was texting with. She's a CEO. There's so many wonderful women of color who are CEOs and stepping into that C-suite. There is possibility and there is a path, but it depends on the corporation you work for, and it depends on if that corporation has done their work and understands that that work needs to be done. And we see more companies trying to come on, and all of a sudden we're hiring all the EDI people, and this is work half of us have been doing all of our lives in the grassroots arena.
It's going to be fascinating to watch that, because corporations are hiring Black women into executive levels because they have to, and because we're fighting for it. It is not because they have automatically. I can tell you 9 times out of 10, when a Black woman's name is presented on a succession list, to a succession plan and a list to promote, they're not going to promote her. That's just for the optics of them being able to say, well, we had we had
she was on the list.
People, but she just isn't ready yet. She's not ready yet. If I hear one more white man say she's not ready yet, and I used to have access to their files and seeing these mediocre Division II, Division III educated people who want to try to hold standards to Black people that they themselves don't have. If I come across one more of them that is doing that to Black women, so help me God, that is their way of gatekeeping and controlling. And so the Black women that are going up, I'll have to find the blog I did about the life cycle of a Black woman, because it's about a 2-year life cycle that when a Black woman goes into a suite before she's exited or she chooses to exit. That's about the average of what. And there's
the lifetime of a Black woman in the C-suite is 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
What world are we living in, Cindi? Come on. 2 years.
We're living in a world where we witness an insurrection and and we are being told that they were very fine people. That's what we're living in.
And no one's going to answer or be held accountable for their actions on that day.
Yep. These issues are just so critical to put out there because folks don't know and don't understand why we want nothing to do with their companies anymore. Seriously.
Exactly. I love it when people ask me, you don't shop there either? I hate when someone says that. That one either, Joy? Nope. I've got a list. And nope. You're not an ally if you're eating at Chick-fil-A. I tell my son.
You're not an ally if you're
just saying. You're not an ally if you're eating at Chick-fil-A. I know the chicken's good.
Or shopping at Home Depot.
Or shopping at Walmart. I'm sorry. I know that they love to have Black people in their commercials. I know they do. But they pay poverty wages. Mm-hmm. I'm sorry. It's just not. No. Hobby Lobby, same thing. Mm-hmm. Sorry. You don't get to tell me what I can do with my body and when I can have children. And no. So yeah, I have a list.
Yeah, I think most of us do. And it should be, I find it important to say, while we tend to know who these major corporations are now because we've seen it through the pandemic pretty loud and clear, we should make no mistake that there are other businesses, small businesses in all of our communities that are perpetuating and upholding racism and attacks on Black women. That is in fact happening. During the pandemic, I remember posting one about a coffee shop in Bellevue. I can't remember the name of it. But this fool had a noose hanging in his window. And so there was I can't remember the Facebook group, but I shared it so that people could see it. And then the whites started on me about, Cindi, just be nice, use your voice you're such an elegant, you're so this, why don't you just talk like this? And why don't you just be like that? And I'm like, why don't you just call him and tell him that we're not going to do business with him because he's got a noose instead of trying to tone police me.
Exactly.
Right, those are the things that people need to understand. And for,
Jessica says she has a list too. Well, I'm gonna give a shout out to Vashon Island. Dave and I went over last year, and it probably was a time, probably late summer when we thought the numbers were falling, and we went over. We masked up, got on the ferry, went over. Every single business, maybe one or two didn't, but I would say 98% of the businesses on Vashon Island had Black Lives Matter and some sort of proclamation in their window. They had murals of all the people who have been killed by the police. And I said, this is where I need to live. I just need them to build a bridge or something because I don't want to be beholden to the boat. But I want to give a shout out to Vashon Island because I was like, as a Black woman walking down the street, I felt comfortable. I felt included. I felt seen. Everyone was friendly. Girl, me and Dave just walked, and you saw my post on Facebook. We just walked, last week? People look like they were scared to say hi to me. I'm like, I am being friendly because we're all out here walking and it's a nice day and it's sunny. Hi. Really? Don't be scared to say hi to me. That's why I posted what I posted. Don't be scared to say hi to me.
Well, I said you were acting that way because I was talking to you on speakerphone at one point. Do you remember that?
Yes, we had already got to the park.
Yeah.
And it's just an interesting fact. And then I'm a Black woman walking with a white man. Hello, then people are looking. They're trying not to look, but they're giving side eye. I don't.
Oh my God.
Done with all that. Done. I'm just like, get it together, people. We all live here. I'm not moving. And yep, I'm loud and I'm going to say what I think and I'm direct and I'm going to say hi to you and I'm going to speak to you because that's who I am.
Just don't take the wine train in Napa. Do you remember that story about the Black women who were loud and,
Yes.
Oh, God forbid when we get lit or we, have a few glasses of wine and we're laughing and having a good time. God forbid us make the people behind us uncomfortable, right? Like that is
that my responsibility? Oh, for them to be comfortable? Sorry, didn't know. Somebody should have told me so I could get paid for that.
Yes. Well, listen, we are at break time. I'm checking to see if our guest has signed on yet.
It looks like she's arrived.
I don't see that yet, but let's just take a quick station identification and then we will be right back in a couple minutes.
Sounds good.
Set up your sacks. I favor black businesses. Assuming I'm rooting for everybody that's black. Yeah. Yeah. Assuming I'm rooting for everybody that's black. Yo.
This is Paul Pearson, host of Star Time. And when I'm not stopping a Mercer Island street brawl, I'm listening to Rainier Avenue Radio.world.
Been around for a long, long.
Wash your hands, don't touch your face, wipe things down, clean up your space. When you cough and sneeze, do responsibly. If you feel you're getting ill, isolate at home and chill. No, you're not alone. Please pick up your phone and call 206-477-3977. King County 206-477-3977. Public Health 206-477-3977. King County 206-477-3977. Public Health Community Radio Station will provide you with more information. Say Rainier Avenue Radio. Your community radio station will provide you with more information. Rainier Avenue Radio.
If you or a family member are 55 or over and need nursing home level care, you want to keep living where you are, check out Providence Elder Place PACE. Our program centers in the Rainier Valley and throughout Seattle and King County, offering healthcare, housing, transportation, social, and recreational activities. There are no copays or deductibles, and it's covered through Medicare and Medicaid. Providence Elder Place PACE specializes in serving those with chronic health conditions, including diabetes, kidney disease, heart disease, and dementia. For over 25 years, this program keeps seniors out of nursing homes, assists family members caring for elderly loved ones, and works to keep the most vulnerable members of our community healthy in their homes. Call 206-320-5325. That's 206-320-5325. Or visit providence.org/Elder Place.
This is Rainier Avenue Radio.world.
Set up your sacks. I favor black businesses. Assuming I'm rooting for everybody that's black. Yeah. Yeah. Assuming I'm rooting for everybody that's black. Yo.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Heartbeat Radio. I'm your host, Cindi Bright. with my co-host tonight, Joy Stanford. We were just spending the first half talking about our own lives and the kind of the challenges we have had, we continue to have, and just kind of mirrored that against what you're seeing in the news every day. We're excited, as we announced earlier, we do have a guest that is joining us now for the second half of the show. Her name is Juanita Beard. She is a mental health therapist here in the larger Puget Sound area. Let's welcome in Juanita Beard.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me.
Yes. Hi, Juanita. How are you this evening?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm in need of your help. No, I'm
okay.
Wait, start the clock, Juanita. Get your paper, girl. You gonna charge her for this time.
Are you on the couch or am I on the couch, Juanita?
We can do a little bit of both.
We are really glad to have you on tonight. I appreciate you coming in the second half. We were just kind of highlighting some of the major news items.
Oh, that's cute.
Doctors in.
That's cute.
We were talking about the Naomi, Meghan Markle, Maxine Waters, Serena Williams, on and on and on and on. And what we wanted to hear from you, I mean, what is it like for you right now? I mean, what is it like for you right now as a therapist personally? We'll start there.
Yeah. It's been really heavy. I think that with the stress of the pandemic, everyone's feeling sort of increased anxiety, increased depression, wondering why they're more on edge, more stressed out. And being able to serve women of color, especially Black women facing stresses from George Floyd and everything else, their hearts are broken, their spirits are broken, and they need someone to encourage and lift them up. And while I've had to do my own work and my own journey and being able to heal from racial traumas and prejudice and all of that, it feels good to be in a place where I can support people who see me as someone who looks like them, who can understand their backstory. And yeah, it's an amazing time to be in mental health. It's certainly busy as well.
And you do focus on racial trauma, processing experience of prejudice, racial transgressions, and the political unrest that is going on, that is impacting. What are some of the trends, maybe I should ask, that you're seeing with respect to Black women's mental health?
I think the biggest trend I'm seeing right now is that so many Black women have taken on the persona of being the strong Black woman, the woman who has to hold it together for not only her husband, but her children, maybe her extended family, and then feeling like she has nowhere to turn when it's time for her to break down. And so being able to encourage those women, like, hey, you need to take care of yourself. And if that means reaching out to those trusted few people in your life to pour your heart out to and to be vulnerable to and let them know, you know what, I'm not always strong and that's okay, has been just really important and validating for the clients that I'm seeing. They need to know that it's okay to not be strong all the time.
And do you see that Black women are starting to see that a therapist or counseling or is the normal thing to do and not so taboo anymore?
Absolutely. And hallelujah to that. I think that finally our newer generations coming on, really normalizing therapy, that even, women of my generation and older are realizing, like, you know what, it doesn't mean I'm crazy to go to therapy. It means that I'm struggling right now and I can get some support. And yeah, you can talk to your husband or your girlfriends, but it's not going to be that objective professional point of view. And that therapy is covered by your insurance. Even if you had to pay cash pay, it's worth it to get the help that you need, even if it's just a quick tune-up for a month and then you're back to flying solo again. But yes, when you're feeling that you're struggling, reach out.
And how do you feel like Naomi handled that whole situation? I mean, is that something, because I'm thinking her therapist said, if you can't do this, and this is detrimental to your being, then you need to take those steps. And so what was your impression of how she did what she did?
Yeah, I feel like she handled that so beautifully, and how nice to see someone be brave to say, you know what, I'm going to put my mental health first before my job, before any sort of career, fame, anything. Exactly. And say, I just got to take a step back and take care of me, and see you later. I think that's just so brave and can be a good representation for all of us to think, you know what, when I'm doing too much, when I'm doing the most, maybe I just need to sit down for a minute and recollect myself and then get back out there when you're ready.
Are you observing a rapid rate of Black women leaving jobs right now?
I haven't observed that lately, but what I'm seeing a lot of is Black women managing households and working from home, and those things not getting a break from each other. So they're trying to do their teleworking, and then they've got kids screaming in the background, and they're trying to take their breaks to take a nap and then get back to work and then do dishes on their 15-minute break. And that's just a way to burn yourself out. So that's what I'm seeing the most of, and just people not taking care of themselves. Maybe they don't have the support network they need, but yeah, it's getting bad.
Do you also have white clients that you? So are you able to see something that's different between your white people that need your help versus your Black women that need help? Is there?
The main difference I would say I see is that my white clients perhaps reached out a little bit sooner before it got to be a crisis time. I think the Black clients that I'm seeing, they also recognize they have an issue, but maybe they waited later on in the game thinking, I'm just going to white knuckle it through life and I can get through this, pull myself up on my bootstraps. And then they realize, you know what, I'm still really having a hard time. And before I think about doing something disastrous like ending my life, maybe I should get some help.
Mm-hmm. And I would agree with that, because that's what I did. I didn't mourn the loss in 2018, Cindi, and I went right back into it. I gave myself that 2019 year and I went right back into it 2020, and I lost again. And it hit me like a Mack truck come November, December. By January, I was like, ooh, I need to talk to somebody.
Well, I didn't have it in me to run again. For a myriad of reasons, one of which is I just didn't feel like stomaching because that's your mental health, right? Just stomaching the garbage that you have to stomach to be able to become an elected official. And then when you get to be, I feel like I dodged a bullet, because just even watching the behaviors of many of the electeds, it's so atrocious how they treat other people. It's so horrible that I really said to myself, who wants to be in that crowd anyhow? Like,
absolutely.
It doesn't pay jack stuff.
Yeah.
So if you're not paying me to abuse me, why would I do that again? Right?
Exactly. And she's talking state level, Juanita. Let me just get that clear, because Juanita's running for school board, Cindi.
Yes.
She's talking state level. She ran a state race just like I did. So,
okay.
And hers was it was definitely different from my race where she lived. Yes, it was like night and day, our races. Right. So we'll have to have you over for wine to tell you that whole story.
Yes, I'd love that.
Juanita, you for school board? You did Joy just say talk about that? Yeah, talk about that.
Yeah, it's been kind of a wild 2.5 weeks since I decided to throw my hat in the ring. And I've had a passion for wanting to advocate for kids, as a therapist and history of working in social work and hospitals and children's administration. I really want to fight for the little guy, and especially for the BIPOC population who feels like they don't have a voice. So school board felt like a good avenue. I ran before in 2009 for Clover Park School Board and got 45% of the vote. I thought, you know what, if I give it more effort this time, let's do it and take a win home. So I'm hopeful. Try not to let some of the horror stories that I've heard from previous campaigns scare me, because I know that there are nasty people everywhere, right? But that's part of life, and I'm just ready to take it on.
And what school district are you running in?
Peninsula School District.
Peninsula School District, okay.
In Gig Harbor. It's in Gig Harbor.
Okay. That's awesome. That's really awesome to hear. We can cover two bases in a show,
right? She's got a lot of great people surrounding her and cheering her on, and she doesn't even know the amount of elected officials around here who are cheering her on, and they're going to support her. And yeah, it's a good thing.
Let us help you with your mental health, Juanita, in this process of running for office.
Yes, please.
Oh.
Well, I know I find so much I want to know, like tell me the worst case scenario so I can be prepared. But then I know like that may not be good for my mental health to hear about all of the worst things that can happen. Like I want to stay positive. And yeah, today we've been fundraising and it's just nice to see all of the support coming in. So I'm going to let the naysayers just go by the wayside.
And that's what you have to do. That's what you have to do. And I don't know. I just said, you will win this race. You will win this race. You will win this race. I'm just.
Well, our children definitely need that.
Yes.
Our children's mental health. Can you just imagine? Do you see children as clients by any chance?
I have a couple of teens on my caseload right now, and they're really facing the burden of social isolation and so much of that social emotional learning that you do in school outside of your academic work is important. And they are just struggling with not having that. And, you know, elementary kids got to go back to in-person way before our middle schoolers and high schoolers. So yeah, they're maybe in half days, a couple days a week, and it's not enough.
Do you know how the schools are handling mental health issues with the kids who are coming back and or the future of them coming back? What are the school districts doing to support them? And let me say that different. Joy and I were just talking about before you came on, you know, I'm out of corporate America and the abuse that we all tolerate it for years to be able to have jobs. And the freedom many of us are finding from not setting foot in there anymore. How are our young people going to handle, particularly, I would say at the high school level, where the fight is on about teaching about critical race theory and the things that impact our lives, and the teachers who don't want to teach it or all of that. Like, what are your thoughts about those issues with our kids?
Yeah, you know, I feel like critical race theory is such an important topic that needs to be discussed. And I don't want to see anyone go home and feel like, you know, I'm white and I'm to blame for all these things that happen and those children struggle. But I think that being able to have an open, honest talk about systemic racism in our country and institutional racism and how all of those things really impact are Black people in America every single day, and how that might change my life perspective compared to yours. And we just need to acknowledge it and get it out there. If we pretend that it didn't happen, then that's a huge issue. And I think that's what we're looking at right now in our country. And then that makes everything divided. You know, I never thought that saying Black Lives Matter would become a political statement, but here we are, you know? So I think that even being able to have those small conversations at schools and having teachers who feel comfortable and competent to be able to have those conversations are so key right now. And I don't know that the school counselors are even equipped to do those things. So if I were to be able to get in there and provide personal experience, professional experience, I would love to do that and use my expertise to help.
And the rumor is that they're cutting back on social workers. And my thing is, we're bringing these kids back from 18-month pandemic isolation. Now is not the time that we cut back. And I don't know if this rumor is true or not. I'm about to post it, so maybe somebody can chime in and let me know. But I need to know what in the world, why would we cut back on folks who can provide this kind of resource for our kids and right at this critical time as they're returning back to just check in and make sure, why are we not hiring more? So We've got one for the high schools and then one for the middle schools and then one or two for the elementaries, because we've got 9 schools here in our school district now. So you need maybe 2 social workers at like 0.7 maybe each, you know? I mean, I'm not saying we need to spend a whole lot of money, but yeah, you got to pay these people to come in. But this is like, to me, an important thing. If that rumor is true, you as a, thank you, Jessica, you as a therapist, you're going to know coming in on that school board, is that an important tool that we need to have?
Absolutely. And I feel like there are so many ways to make sure that we have culturally competent social workers in schools to be able to provide the support and not just a reactionary response, but let's be proactive about it. Have those conversations early. And if they feel like, I'm afraid to have those conversations, I'm not equipped, then let's connect with somebody who really does feel like they can provide that training and facilitate those conversations.
I was just gonna say, we can get you some training so that you can. Now we're promoting our school district and saying we're gonna be the leader of this because we want our kids, all of our kids, to be okay. So, well, I just appreciate you, you know,
Thank you.
stepping up and stepping out of that box and running for school board, because you're definitely you're the candidate and you're the person that's needed right now, I believe, in our school district. So
you commented a couple minutes ago, and I just want to ask you to elaborate on it a little bit. You commented about the white students who are also carrying mental health burdens, and I think your words were about, I wasn't to blame for blah 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 blah. So now there's what advice do we have for white families, white parents, white kids about what conversations do we have with them because we can't change what we don't confront.
Right.
And so how are you navigating that?
Yeah, I think the most important thing there is to be able to hold space for that uncomfortable conversation, to be able to sit in that vulnerability and be like, yeah, this was terrible. Maybe we need to just recognize that when I'm interacting with my Asian friend down the street, that they might be going through a more difficult time, and look at the history from our country. And we don't need to maybe necessarily bring it up, but let's just keep that in mind, keep that in the forefront, that their life experience may be different, and that's okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think everybody bringing their lived experience to the table only makes us better.
Right.
And it's so interesting to listen to teens talk. I mean, both Cindi and I have children of mixed race, as do you, Juanita. And so understanding what they're going through, but it's interesting for me to listen to my son and his friends talk about race and talk about those uncomfortable conversations, right, Cindi? I'm like, so
fascinating.
They have like profound conversations to the point where one time his friend group said, Miss Joy, we just want you to know, if we ever get pulled over, if Ben gets out, we're all getting out.
Okay.
Because I had said to them, Ben's going to be asked to get out of the car. And they were like, no. And then they went and checked it out. They did a little reading. And Ben was like, my mom's telling you the truth. And they were like, oh, no. If you get out, we're all getting out.
Yeah.
And they wanted to make sure I knew that if Ben was getting out, they all were getting out. And I just thought, see, they get it.
Right.
They get it.
Race is an interesting conversation in our household because my son shows white. Like, if you didn't know that he was, because I'm biracial and his father's white. And so he got the dominant white genes, but the black attitude, right? The black attitude, I should say. When he talks, you can tell he's got black in him, but most folks don't recognize that. So my son, again, has benefited from light skin. I've benefited from light skin. I take a lot of crap from people because I'm direct and I speak truth. Mm-hmm. And so that creates my own challenges. But I'm just always curious because, my son he's had some things that he's had to tolerate, mostly out of white entitlement in Bellevue. But it's just been a different experience for him. And to your point, Joy, my friends who have kids, like, it's just interesting to listen to young people who are unwilling to tolerate this systemic hatred towards brown and black people.
Right.
Yeah.
And I love that students are standing. I mean, it was mostly students and youth that led the Black Lives Matters protests. I went to one in Bremerton in 2020 when we were all supposed to be staying home. And no, we're going to go to the Black Lives Matter protest in Bremerton led by students. And I'm talking high school students, not college, high school students marching across that Warren Avenue Bridge with their signs, with their bullhorn. And I just thought, good trouble.
Yes.
This is good trouble.
Yes.
So awesome to see and so awesome to be a part of. And I'm in the background. I don't need to be out front. That's the kids' thing, to be out front. So, yeah.
How awesome for kids to be able to speak up and speak out and show support. And I hope that, kids of all races can go home and have those conversations with their parents, and it's a dialogue rather than a shutdown because of their discomfort. And, every household is different, but I think just being able to have your kids be able to maybe engage you in those conversations might be a step for our country to go in the right direction.
I think kids are doing that anyway.
One of our listeners just commented that it was students and youth that led the civil rights movement as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, I wanted to come back to the Black women conversation because again, every time we talk to people, we come on air. It's the quickest hour of the day. Are you seeing a rise or in violence against Black women from your practice?
That thankfully I have not seen a rise in. Many of my Black women who initially seek out therapy are wanting to talk about racial injustice and their frustrations, not even if it was their personal experience, maybe they're just having, vicarious trauma from watching George Floyd be murdered, but they're also experiencing microaggressions at work and frustrations in their communities. And so all those things compound and can cause people to have anxiety or depression. So I would say that's the main driver for my clients seeking therapy right now.
Mm-hmm. Do you have a lot of vacant slots right now?
Unfortunately, no. I am plumb full, and I've got people asking to be on my wait list through August. So that's great for me, great for business. Kind of the wrong time to be running for office, but it is what it is. I'm staying busy, so that's a blessing.
It's never the right time.
Do you know Dr. Shalon Irvin?
I don't.
Okay, she's a Black therapist in Seattle. She's been on the show before and earlier in the pandemic, and we talked a little bit about this, and she was booked out as well. In fact, I was trying to get in to see her, which is how I discovered we have Black therapists around here. I mean, I think a lot of us, it was hard to find. It's hard to find those resources. And I don't want to just limit it to that because the person I have seen for years she is just a phenomenal woman who has helped.
And mine is too.
Yeah, just tremendous.
I love her.
They're there to help let you talk and where you can actually be you. So I think what you provide the service to people as a therapist is to allow us to not have to code switch, not have to mix words about what we feel, not have to worry about the media publishing articles about us that they are delicately reminding us to be white. And their way. And so, yeah, it's awesome that you do this work.
Thank you.
Is there a field or a large pool of Black therapists that you know?
Unfortunately not. I'm starting to network with other therapists in private practices in the Seattle area and a few in Tacoma, but I feel like we're few and far between. And I'm part of one therapist group that I think there's 200 of us and there are 4 Black therapists. So it's quite limited. And I'm sure they're all full as well.
Wow.
Oh, yeah. And are they female?
One male.
Black male?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
What about, do you have Black men as your patients as well?
I've had a few Black men inquire, but they haven't followed through with services. So I'm not sure if they found another therapist elsewhere, but it's mainly Black women that are seeking me out.
Okay, that's interesting.
I don't know if I'd be surprised if a Black male went to see. I don't know. There's another topic of conversation. I just created a show, Cindi.
Yes.
Black men are under attack.
Yes.
So
but would they see a Black female therapist?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I've certainly had my experiences in hospital social work where, I've had to see a Black male client in crisis and I kind of get the third degree of, what are your credentials? And, are you really sure that what you're talking about? And it's like, oh, okay, well, I can go see, the white patient next to you and I'm not going to get the same third degree. So yeah, that would be a great topic to get into. That's been my experience more than once with Black men specifically.
See?
It's interesting.
Because I'm going to have to mansplain everything to you, even though you're the therapist.
We've had, Joy and I have had, and we have another friend of ours, we've had these kind of conversations off air. I haven't been courageous enough yet to bring that topic to camera because it can be dicey to talk about that. And but we probably should because they are in need of a lot of help right now. If I don't know what's happening in their homes. I don't know, I think we're raised, or I would say Black people are raised to keep our mess in the house, right? Like, we don't talk outside of the house. And so, that could be a huge factor. And if I were a Black man, I mean, hell, I'm scared to go drive down some of these streets for fear that I'm going to get pulled over. Or, as a matter of fact, I have a taillight out right now, and I've been so paranoid because I haven't got my car into the shop. And the guy who pulled up next to me to tell me that my light was out, I was panicking as he was doing this to me to tell me to put my window down. And he's like, I just want to let you know your tail light's out. And I was like, thank you. Like, it's just pretty scary right now, I think.
Yeah.
So,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
After Sandra Bland was murdered, that was very scary time to drive on the highway. It's like, well, is today going to be my day? That's someone who looks like me, same background. Like, that's just scary to live with, and to have white friends and explain that to, and they're like, oh, really? And it's like, yeah, that's my everyday.
Yeah.
I still remember, just as a mom, one of the other moms coming up to me and goes, I just realized you have to have a conversation that I don't with my son.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Mm-hmm. And that started years ago. And she was like, you did? Yes. And I mean, she just stood there. She was like, I am so sorry you have to have that conversation with your son. And I'm like, yeah. And that started when he was in 5th grade.
Look, we're out of time. I told you it was going to go.
So fast.
I know. Juanita, look, we really appreciate you coming on with us tonight and just having this kind of an openness, dialogue with us. We will have to do some more because I know this isn't over yet. To our listeners who joined us both on air here and through our other means, thank you for joining us tonight and engaging with us in these needed topics. Everybody have a good evening, and Joy and I will see you next week. Thank you again.
Yes. Thank you, Juanita. We'll have you back as a candidate next time.
Sounds good. All right.
I favor Black businesses. Assuming I'm rooting for everybody that's Black. Yeah. Yeah. Assuming I'm rooting for everybody that's Black.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a good comment.
Yeah.